There we go.
Go ahead, guys.
Coach, how would you just size up, or 7 or 8 practices in, where this defense is at and how you feel it's been evolving through this spring?
They're learning what to do. Guys are growing into their roles. They continue to install, so they put new things in. They've got some explosive players on offense to deal with, and so they're having to, take away the guys that the offense has while also taking advantage of their skill set. So I think they're growing and they're doing a nice job.
I think we're going to talk to Kwazi today, so I'm curious what you've seen from him as a veteran transfer in the first 2 weeks of camp.
Yeah, I think since the day Kwazi got here, obviously we'd played against him, so we had a feel for his skill set. He's been very focused, very determined, very professional, adjusted well, great route runner, deep ball player, continuing to find ways to manufacture for him opportunities to run after the catch. He's been a really good addition for us.
Pretty consistently, you've added transfer receivers, I think, since you got here, and they've all kind of become leaders of a sort when they got here. Is that kind of what you're looking for when you get a transfer, that they're not only a guy that can make some plays, but they also kind of set the tone with work ethic?
Maybe early on, just because we were young at the position. Early on we went with a really young group and brought in Billy Kemp, and last year had a young group and had Dane in there. But I think you have Isaiah and Jahsear who played a lot of football, and I think Jahsear is certainly a leader on this football team, as is Isaiah. So I don't think you necessarily are. We didn't bring Kwazi in for that. I think he brings some of that. I just think we wanted another explosive weapon out there, and he certainly has that ability.
How do you see those guys at that position, and the tight ends and the running backs too, adjusting to Anthony's style of play at quarterback? Dana talked quite a bit the last time he was here about off schedule and just how important that's going to be to the offense.
I think when you guys were out there yesterday, they were in routes on air. They were working scramble drill. I think even look at the National Football League, so many plays happen off schedule, and so having guys understand that the top end of the route is just the beginning. That they might get the ball right away if he throws it on time, but he can certainly create. And there's going to be opportunities to break free, get open, maybe make some big plays off of it. And for us, the scramble plays should be the first trick play of a game. So having that mentality of, hey, we have a playmaker, let's go make plays with him.
Sounded like maybe Jamir Conn was coming up here. I know even after the bowl game, you said he was a guy that might fit well in what Rob Aurich's picture. What have you seen sort of out of Jamir as he's grown as a player in this program?
I think Jamir is probably the best example we have of a gritty football player, a guy who shows up every day, same guy every day, no matter what the role is, whether it was blocking a punt last year or playing corner, playing nickel, playing safety. He's tough, he's physical, he competes every day. He's everything you probably would want in a player. And so now it's just a matter for him of getting the football right, finding the right position for him, and giving him a chance to compete. But his intangibles, they make the locker room and they make the sideline better.
Have you seen Elijah Pritchett mature and grow over the last 6 months and 12 months?
I think probably his biggest growth was probably 12 months ago. Sometimes as a coach you have to do hard things. We didn't always play him until the standards were right. I'm very proud of Elijah. I think he'll be a top draft pick next year. I think he was very mature in making the decision to come back. When you go through those moments, right, and you're not getting what you want, you can pout or you can grow. And I think he's grown. He's a tremendous talent, and he's combining that with technique, grit, every single day, showing up, doing the right things. And I think adding some of those guys to the room, have also helped grow that for him. Justin Evans is clearly the leader in that room. There's no doubt about that. And I think Pritchett's kind of like right there along with him.
You got that odd targeting penalty against Minnesota, and you had his back after that particular play. Was that a bonding moment for him and the coaching staff that you guys supported him in that kind of odd play?
You'd probably have to ask him. I didn't see it that way. It was just sort of I thought a tough call. I mean, for someone who watches as much football as me, it's I think the only time I'd ever seen that. They had one other instance, but at the end of the day, he was just trying to play hard. He wasn't trying to hurt anybody. He was just trying to, a game that wasn't quite going our way early on. He was trying to establish physical dominance by hitting a player. They made the call. But what you hope is over time that when you're holding players and staff and yourself to standards, that they don't see it as punishment. They see it as corrective action, helping them get better. And if you're able to stay a place long enough, that those messages kind of get passed on. It's like, hey, no matter how talented you are, you have to do things this way. And again, tremendous credit to Elijah. He's done that, and he'll reap a lot of the rewards this year, and then with a long NFL career afterwards, because he's got all the talent and he's added. We haven't done it. He's done the discipline and the accountability to get those things done.
Hey, Coach Aurich mentioned with Donovan Jones that he's been moving around to maybe some safety and maybe some nickel. How challenging can that be for a player, and what makes you think Donovan could excel at other positions?
Yeah, Coach Norwich isn't used to this media market yet. He keeps saying a lot. I try to tell him. Donnie's just a great player, right? So it's just like, the hard thing sometimes when you have a guy like Donnie who can do so much is you want to let them just settle in. And, but playing nickel, playing safety is really the same thing in this defense. So, wanted to be able to use his man-to-man ability. He's used at corner, and also his physicality to stop the run. And so I think he's a guy that we believe is a starter caliber player for us, and just finding the right spot to allow him to flourish. What you don't want to do to me is take a player who could be a difference maker and put them in a position where they're less difference making to get the best 11 on the field. Some people believe in that. I want our best players to be in blue dot positions where they can affect the game and then work around it. So I think we're just trying to make sure Donnie's in a position where he can affect the game.
To that point about Rob, I think he was asked the other day about the guys on the cheetah squad and said, I better not say, and then he went ahead and named some players. His way of communicating, like his transparency that he has here, and I'm sure with the players on the field, like how big is that for him in gaining the trust of these guys that he's new working around?
Yeah, well, Rob's an open book. There's I love being around him. There's no agendas. He calls it like he sees it. He's very clear on the expectations. He'll just have to figure out that when you say these two guys are doing well, there's a whole bunch of people that say, well, what about these two? And so you just have to be careful calling guys out, because there's a lot of guys doing really good things right now. And so, sometimes after practice, you walk in, you remember like the last two plays of the practice, but you want to give a honest assessment of how everyone's doing. But I do think from us, I think they did a great job at San Diego State in their rush packages of getting unique players on the field in unique positions. And so I've always liked those things. I like having packages for players where maybe I don't fit everything we're doing, but I can impact the game in one certain area. And I think he's thinking that way. I think he has a great staff. I think watching the way they work together, the staff is doing a nice job of, whether it's looking at a guy like Donnie and figuring out what position he's in, or hey, what's the best way to handle quarterbacks like TJ and Anthony who can run, and how do we affect that? But they did a nice job at San Diego State of getting good players on the field to affect the quarterback when it mattered. And so they started, we had some third down stuff last night, and they had some of those groups out there, and it's good to see. But yeah, I think Rob's the type of coach that most players would want to play for, because there's no agenda. It's just pretty straight up.
Were you guys in that staff? Were you guys slotting Phil Simpson this year?
Yeah, he's along with the defensive staff, like along with the defensive line. So we have two guys with the D tackles, two guys with the D ends. Those two ends do a lot of different stuff. So Phil's in there. Him and Royer with those guys.
What are the blue dot positions?
It's just a thing that one of the GMs I work for used to say, like guys who affect the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can, it's like if you have Ndamukong Suh, put him. Wish we did. If you put him in a position where he can best affect the game, don't put him in a position because he's such a great player that he also could play this too, because another guy's good at this, and then you have, take your best players and put them in positions where you have to deal with them, and then have everyone else fit around them. So it's just it can be at any position. If you have a shutdown corner that no one can get open on, then let them lock up their best player. If you don't, then don't do that. So just the thought of just playing to your strengths.
Did you, when Ty was here, I mean, he's an example of something that strong like that. Did you guys try to figure out ways to get him to be able to dominate?
Ty Robinson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 years Ty was here, I think we were in the top 10 in pretty much every defensive. And I wouldn't say it was just Ty. I thought it was like a combination of Nash and Ty, and I think MJ Sherman. It was a guy that no one ever gave enough credit to because he would just absolutely set the edge into the boundary, and all those long runs that hit last year, they didn't hit 2 years ago, and Deshaun was the boundary safety at the time. So college football, the balls usually run into the sideline, into the boundary, and you had some forces in there. And then you had Johnny Bullock, who's, I think he had 10 tackles in the NFL this year as a special teamer, which is hard to do. And so you had some really good players making a lot of plays, but Ty could disrupt the game, and so that's another guy. Like, could he go out and play a 5 technique? Absolutely, he could. But his best thing was, we moved a little less with him and got vertical with him and played to his strengths. You look out there right now, like Riley's one type of a player, Jahsear Whittington's a different type of a player. They have to do a lot of the same things, but I think, you're hoping that your defensive staff capitalizes on each guy's skill sets in certain ways with either the call or the positions they're putting them in.
Could those two guys play together at the same time, or do they play the same position?
Who's that?
Jahsear and.
Oh no, they play. They have a 5-man kind of group that goes in those. So they're not really. There's not a ton of like, hey, he's purely a nose and he's purely a 3. I mean, especially in this defense, they slide the front. You have to be ready to play both. So they've done a nice job in my mind of. I've asked them too of not just deciding the depth in the first 2 weeks, but giving a lot of guys a lot of opportunities to play versus the first O-line versus the second O-line. And we got a lot of reps, so we can see who can do what. And we had our first scrimmage Saturday. So when you have that first scrimmage, it's a chance for guys to come out of the scrimmage and show, like, okay, I see what I did well, what I didn't do well, like last night, and then tomorrow night are really important days for me to see how guys adjust and come out of that first scrimmage. Hey, what did I learn and what can I do better?
What is that? What was your assessment of the first scrimmage? And I guess the thing I always wonder is, how are you with was there a give and take, offense, defense, or was one much better than the other?
I think the offense was probably maybe a little bit ahead of the defense out there, but it wasn't astronomical. I thought the defense was probably a little ahead of the offense last night. So I think there is good give and take. I think they're going back and forth. But that was really good work. I mean, I think we had, I don't know what the total number was, maybe 180, 190 reps. There was a lot of reps. We only had 12 and a half O-linemen on Saturday because Paul Mbenga could only take half reps. Tyler Knox's girlfriend had senior night. She's a gymnast at Utah, and so we wanted him to go back there with her. Some other guys are banged up, so to be able to get that many reps with 12 and a half O-linemen was really credit to a lot of guys taking a lot of reps. But we needed it for all the wideouts and safeties and running backs to get reps too.
Matt, that said, are you guys on schedule with what you want to get out of the spring?
In terms of
just productivity.
Oh yeah, I think the spring's been great. I think it's been great. It's been a great spring. It's Fred's crushing it right now. Wrestling's crushing it. It's just kind of a quiet just kind of float under the radar. Just get better at football. That's really what I wanted from our guys. Just want an industrious show up every day. We started earlier. I don't know that I'll ever go back. I've loved starting earlier, to be quite honest with you. Because a lot of these guys, they want football's their love, right? They want to do it. So getting them into football, I think, has been really good. I think we're getting better and better. I mean, tomorrow night's practice, we'll have a red zone period. We'll have a coming out, backed up period. We'll have 2-minute. We'll have, all the situations that you're going to hit in a game, we'll hit tomorrow night. So I think the football IQ, the amount of guys who came back, and then the experience and the football knowledge of the guys that have come in has really, really been good for us.
You're looking at an extended break after tomorrow. What are your objectives there with the staff? And I'm sure you have some thoughts about the players over that time too, so they're not having to catch up when they come back that week of the spring game. What are your thoughts about the week to 10 days ahead?
Yeah, I looked at it I've never done a spring break over spring ball, but I also looked at it in this league. We're going to have one bye moving forward. There's going to be some short weeks, some long weeks, and we just have to. We've had a team that's really good when it's comfortable. When it gets a little bit uncomfortable, it gets a little bit jumpy. So we just threw something in there that was a little bit uncomfortable. So they have to go away for a week. I hope they all go have a great spring break, see their family. I know some guys will stay here, and as they always do, they just like living in Lincoln. Some guys, maybe they'll go to the beach or something. Coaches will get away. But I'm treating it like a bye week, right? We'll come back next Sunday night, and then we'll start on Monday. And that's what will happen next year. We'll play a ball game, take a week off, and then, I'm sure we'll be in school and stuff. But we'll take a week off and come back, and we'll have to go play Washington at home that next week. So trying to just make it feel like a football bye week, and then come back. So each player's gonna have some decisions to make. Like they can, run a little bit during the week and make sure when they get back they're in shape, or they can take the week off. That's kind of the position that we're in, right? We've installed kind of a process and a system that, that they understand, and now they have to bring it to life and take advantage of their opportunities. And only so many guys can play. There's a lot of good players on this team, so if they want to play, they have to be out there to practice. And so just really kind of taking the onus after 3 years here, putting it back on them. Like, hey, this what the final week's going to be. It's a full game week leading into a spring game, and you're going to have to take care of yourself in the bye week.
What have you thought of the quarterback so far, particularly Anthony?
Yeah, I think Anthony burning. He's got like a burning desire to be great. He's unbelievably confident, yet unbelievably approachable and not cocky. I think that rubs off on the guys around him. He can extend plays. I think he can make plays with his feet. He'll throw the deep ball. He's not afraid by any stretch of the imagination. He wants the ball in his hands. He wants to make plays. And so he plays really fast. I think part of that is, having him make the right decisions at the right times while not slowing him down. But I think he's had a really good spring so far. TJ, as a young player, as a freshman, it's his second spring. You look at him, he looks like a grown man, but he's still really young. Obviously, he had the benefit of playing. He had some really good moments when he played. And, you can tell him after having played and now watching Anthony play, you can see him speeding up and getting through everything that he's doing. And then Danny's a guy that really smart. His brain processes really quickly. He can see it and just keep getting reps. And then Bodie's done a nice job getting reps too. So I think it's a really healthy quarterback room. And like I said, to have three guys out there that have played as much as they've played is it's pretty unique, and it's a cool thing to see.
You've sort of alluded to some of this, but is there anything about the defense that's jumped out at you at this point of spring ball?
In terms of alluded to, in terms of the structure of the defense or the players?
Players.
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of guys that want to play. They're competing. I think the additions in the linebacker room have helped. Like, I think Owen Chambliss is going to be a really good football player. He got like a banged up toe and continues to go out there every day. Like, doesn't have to go out there probably, but goes out there every day. Like, wants to be great. And I think that you play defense. You need to have a sound defense. You need to have technique. You need some alphas that want to dominate the other team. And I think guys like Owen bring that. So yeah, I've been pleased with the defense with where they're at, and I like the teaching. I like how Coach Aurich and his staff break it down. Everything from here's how we're going to run to the football, to here's how we're going to tackle, to here's how we're going to play this call, and the coaches are doing a good job of holding them accountable. And when you bring in a bunch of new players from a bunch of new places, new coaches, you just have to kind of rein it all in and like, hey, no, this is how we're going to do it. Don't do it the way you did it here. Do it this way. And I've sensed a lot of buy-in on that, which I think is really good.
What are your first impressions of Danny Odem and how his transition from high school to college is going?
Yeah, Danny's really talented. Danny's a big player for a freshman. I think he's 198 pounds as a corner as a freshman. He's competing to play. We didn't bring him here to sit. And he's humble. He when I say humble, he works really hard. He's up there all the time. He's a gym rat. He's watching extra tape. He's trying to meet with Addie to make sure he knows what to do. And then when he goes out there, he likes to compete. And so he's facing good wideouts every day in practice. And he's certainly a guy that's, in the mix. There's a lot of great competition for that spot, probably opposite Marshall.
A recruit mentioned that Aurich is more of like a partner than like an authoritarian figure in terms of how he teaches his scheme and how he communicates. Have you noticed that?
I don't. That's great. It's a great comment. Like I've always believed, great coaches should be authoritative, not authoritarian. So I think you have to. He can't be a partner in that everyone's deciding how we want to do things. He's got to be the alpha, and this is how we do it. I do think the best coaches, though, they explain it in a way that they explain why, but they don't justify it. So what I like the most about Rob is that he's watching NFL tape, he's watching Indiana's defense, he's watching Iowa's defense, he's watching Mountain West team's defense. He's always looking for new things. He wants to be on the cutting edge. And that's probably what the recruit is referring to. But like I said earlier, I think Rob's the kind of coach that I would want to play for, in that it's just always, hey, what's the best way? Not what's my way, but what's the best way? And that's probably what that recruit's referring to.
Aurich kind of also mentioned that when he came in, that the schemes or he builds his defense around skill sets over, kind of fitting guys into roles. Have you noticed anyone on the defense side of the ball that you feel like needs to be on the field, or like they're making an effort to get on the field, even though he's not a perfect fit, maybe?
I think everyone's a fit in some way. We're not, I don't think we're doing anything groundbreaking defensively. We're not like we first came here, we went to the 3-3-5, and that required maybe some different, hey, you need these people, and I think we kind of did it because of what was, what we thought would be an outlier. I think this defense requires people knowing exactly what to do and anticipating things and breaking before, just having that, and sometimes it takes some time. And so I think they're doing a good job of putting guys in a lot of reps, putting guys in a lot of opportunities, even in walkthroughs, to make those calls and comments. When you look at our D line, like I said, like to have a guy like a 6'5", 310-pound guy like Riley, and then a guy at 265 like Jahsear, I think Rob's will do a good job. Corey Brown's been really impressive to me, of like, hey, let's this guy's going to play this way, this guy's going to play this way within the call. So I think I think it's fair to say that he's trying to both maximize the players that we have, but also look at, hey, watch a lot of Big Ten tape, right, and say, hey, how does Big Ten football go? We noticed it a lot during the portal. You're watching like D linemen, you're watching D linemen in the SEC, and there's one style of football being played in the SEC. There's a whole other style in the ACC and Big 12, and then you watch them versus Ohio State and Indiana, and you're getting double teams and duo and power, and it's just a different football here. So making sure that everything that we do stands up to the teams that we're going to see in this league, and the ability to stop the run, and so he has core philosophies, his core strategies that match what we have as a program. The tactics might change a little bit, like, hey, let's stop the run this way this game. But I think he's a really smart coach, and so I think it'll work out.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.